Hi, my name is Jake, and I am a bookish drummer. So for today's Stephen King video, I will be doing a book review for one of my all-time favorite Stephen King books, and that would be Dolores Claiborne. And the reason I'm doing a review for this is because it was the Patreon winner for the month of October. I'm having a tough time remembering who won because October was kind of a crazy month with the readathon and everything, but I did read this book and I will be doing this review for it, even though it is kind of late, and I said I would do it in October. But October got very busy for me, so you're getting it now. So for Dolores Claiborne, and like with most of these Stephen King book reviews, this was a reread for me. And I read this years and years ago, and it was after I read just like a bunch of like classic Stephen King horror books, and most of those I grew up watching the movies for. But when I read this for the first time, I had never really heard of it. I never watched the movie. And I'll be honest, like the first 100 pages or so for me was very difficult to get into. But then, my dad, who was a huge Stephen King fan, he told me to just be patient. It'll get better. It'll get better. And it definitely did. And I really did enjoy it at the time, but it was more like a 4-star book. Like I did enjoy it, but it wasn't like my like top tier. Now, however, after rereading it and definitely listening to the audio, which I think the audio might surpass like physically reading it for me because the audio narrator just did such a great job. This book might be a top 10 Stephen King book for me now, which is crazy. And it'll be very interesting when I go back and re-rank all of Stephen King's books, especially after the readathon, because that really opened my eyes to like what could be in my top 10. This is definitely top 20, definitely top 15, I would say. It might just be top 10 material because this book was so much fun. And Dolores Claiborne is definitely one of my all-time favorite Stephen King protagonists and characters. She's just amazing. And definitely the audiobook narrator, they did a fantastic job just really bringing Dolores Claiborne to life. And I'm glad a lot of people ended up reading this during the readathon because this book is really fun. And also, my girlfriend Stacy, who is not a big Stephen King fan, she really hated Carrie and really didn't get along with Misery. And even during the readathon, she was, of course, reading Stephen King, but she was giving most of them like 3.5 stars, maybe 4 stars. But she gave Dolores Claiborne 5 stars, which is awesome because, like I said, she's not a big Stephen King fan. But yeah, I'm glad a lot of people read it. I'm definitely glad that I reread it because it's 5 stars for me now. I love it. You know what? This has been a very long introduction. Let's go ahead and just jump right into the review. So like I said, this was a reread for me, and it is now one of my all-time favorite Stephen King books, possibly top 10, definitely top 15. And Dolores Claiborne is just one of the best characters that Stephen King has ever written. And for anyone who doesn't really know what this book is about, essentially the whole book is told through Dolores Claiborne speaking as if she's talking directly to the police who are sort of interviewing her because she's being interrogated for a crime that she didn't commit. And it's very interesting because in her way, in order to sort of admit that she's not guilty for this one thing that she's being blamed for, she has to confess to a crime that she did commit. And it's definitely not a spoiler because this happens in like the first 10 or 20 pages. She pretty much confesses to killing her husband. And, and that was like, I think at the beginning point of the book, it's like 25 or 30 years ago. Or maybe, I'm not good with time, but like, it's been a while. And a lot of people thought that she killed her husband, but she essentially got away with it because there wasn't really any evidence for it. but now she's being blamed for another person's death. And she was one of the main caretakers for this elderly woman, and she was found dead. And they're all assuming that she's the one who did it because she left a lot of money in her will. And so she has to try her best to prove her innocence. And one of the ways that she wants to do that is by talking about her life and talking about how she killed her husband, why she did it, and all of that stuff, and her life with this elderly woman who she's been taking care of. Because yeah, it's hard to describe this book because it's definitely sort of a stream of consciousness book. For anyone who hasn't looked at the physical edition, there are no chapters. It's all just, it starts on the first page and it's all just one long thing, which normally, I don't like books that don't have chapters, but Stephen King, for some reason, manages to do them right, like Dolores Claiborne, obviously, but also Cujo, that doesn't really have chapters. It has chapter breaks and, like, character perspective changes, but with this one, there's definitely no chapter breaks. It's all Dolores just telling her story. I think it works better in audio because you actually just get someone doing a very fun and interesting voice for Dolores Claiborne, and it just feels like someone is telling you a story. It's also hard to summarize because Dolores Claiborne, like at the beginning, says that she has to kind of tell the story out of order. So it's sometimes hard to remember, like, wait, what happened first? What's going on? But essentially, it's the story of Dolores and her husband who have a few children, and she's really put in a tough spot because he's pretty much an abusive husband, like just a terrible person, and she kind of has to work also to, like, help raise the kids. And one of the things that she has to do is go to this elderly woman's house and clean the house and take care of her and do all that stuff. And yeah, and also just the situation that arises. I don't want to spoil too much, but you figure out why she killed her husband and how she did it and how she got away with it and all that stuff. And then you also learn about the relationship between Dolores and this elderly woman that she takes care of, which that leads to a lot of comedy. But yeah, it is really hard to talk about this book without spoiling it too much, because right off the bat, Stephen King tells you, like, oh, this elderly woman died and her husband died and she, killed him. So, but yeah, it's just a really fun experience, just figuring out, like, just everything. I'm having a really hard time talking about this book, but I do love it. And Dolores, like I said, Dolores is just one of the best characters. And one of the reasons why I thought Stacy would actually really like this book is that Stacy really loves reactive characters. Like, she loves getting into the thoughts and just what ticks someone, and like just them reacting strongly to what's going on in their life. And that's 100% Dolores Claiborne. Like, she is extremely reactive. She'll tell you what she's thinking. She won't hesitate. And it's awesome. And just some of her lines are just so hilarious. So yes, Dolores Claiborne, fantastic character, and a very gripping tale of just her sitting down, talking to the police, and just talking about her life. And it is very short. I think it's like a 9-hour audio, so you can get through it pretty quickly for a Stephen King book. It's just one of those books that you just sit back and listen to. I could have probably listened to this in one go. And yeah, it really opened up my mind to, like, rethinking of what's going to be in my top 10, because I'm pretty sure this one is going to be in my top 10 now. Which begs the question of what's going to be out of my top 10. And I'll link that down below, like my top 10 whatever Stephen King books. But yeah, I'm going to have to take something out because this is a heavy contender. I love this book. I also love books that just have, like, a wide variety and range of emotions that the author can kind of produce in the reader. And like I said, there's definitely a lot of laugh out loud moments, but there's also some thought-provoking moments. There's some just really just moments that really just get under your skin of, like, just character moments that are just like, man, I want to punch this person. And then there's some really sad moments, just really poignant moments. And you definitely get that. You get all the range of emotions in this book. It's fantastic. So if you're a constant reader, and you have not yet read Dolores Claiborne, I would highly recommend it. And I would also highly recommend watching the movie, which I haven't talked about yet, but the movie is awesome. Also stars Kathy Bates. Of course, Kathy Bates is well known for portraying Annie Wilkes in Misery, but she does a fantastic job in Dolores Claiborne. Definitely one of the more underrated King movies. Fantastic job. It's a little different, I guess, than the book, because obviously the book, it's just all Dolores Claiborne speaking about everything. But in the movie, you definitely get, I don't know, it's just different, but it's also very good. So I would highly recommend both the book and the movie for all of you constant readers who have not yet enjoyed the book or read the book. I'm not going to guarantee you're going to enjoy it, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. One of my all-time favorite Stephen King books and one of my all-time favorite Stephen King characters. All right, so that is my kind of rambly review for why I love Dolores Claiborne, one of my all-time favorite books, or Stephen King books. And what do you guys think of Dolores Claiborne? Have you read it yet? If you enjoyed it, or if you didn't enjoy it, please leave all your comments down below. And if you're interested in picking it up because of this review, please let me know as well. I'd love to know. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do that. I've got the Book Astronomer Discord. You can go sign up for that. I've also got my Patreon page if you want to go support me there. And I have my Amazon wish list if anyone would like to buy me a book. Whew! Thank you guys so much for watching and have a fantastic day.